and really moving in a space of greater focus, intention, and purpose as we're in the full fledges of the beginning of the second quarter. So I don't know what your markers are. I look at a couple of things. One, I'm looking at how we're progressing as a family unit. How are we doing in terms of our relationship, our communication with my children, with my spouse, with extended family, and that's not as important. It's more periphery, but we just want to make sure we're in good communication. I look at health and fitness in terms of where were my weak spots in quarter number one. I had some sugar breakdowns. I had some binges on cakes and pies and cookies. So I have to be more mindful of really designating a cheating day as it pertains to the food I'm putting into my body. Then I'm looking at my fitness regimen. Did I miss any days, or did I hit every single day in the first quarter in terms of my workouts? And then because I know if I miss, because it's very, I can't remember when I've ever missed. It's been a while, but I'm looking at that. So those are things I'm looking at. I look at income. So I go through my bank statements and I look at all the deposits, where the money came from, what percentage came from here, what percentage came from here, et cetera, so that I know where I need to direct my focus and be more intentional as we're starting off the second quarter. And then, did I have any specific targets for quarter number one? Was I goal oriented and centrally focused on that particular outcome in quarter one, or was I winging it? Was I just kind of going off of base instinct, doing what I know how to do instinctually, but not really by design, because I've cultivated certain habits and I know I can get away with certain things? So I'm looking at all of that from the first quarter of 2023. So I want to invite any of you that want to hop into this conversation as we're talking about what was your mindset coming into the brand new year? Did you have a specific outcome that you wanted to fulfill in the first quarter of 2023? Do you even look at your year and do you break it down by quarters? Maybe you break it down by weeks. Maybe you break it down by months. Maybe you don't break it down at all. Maybe you have a totally different system. So I would love to hear from any of you that want to jump in terms of your mindset at the start of the year and your progress up to this point, as we're about just over 12 weeks into 2023. I'm dramatically pausing. This is the part where one of you all say, okay, let's talk. Let me talk to you about what okay, who's that?
I'll talk. I love to talk.
Kim, let's do it.
Of course. I love to talk. So so my mindset at the beginning of this year was really to be still, actually, because this past year I had really been reaching and striving, and it felt like I was grasping instead of allowing. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. And so I had to really sit still and get clear on how I wanted to move forward in like a sustainable way. So honestly, like I didn't really have many revenue goals or anything like that, like targets per se, other than to get clear on how I wanted to move forward. And that I did do that.
So I did.
Yep. I got a significant amount of clarity, which I think now is going to allow me to step more confidently into what I want to do, like more assuredly into what I need to accomplish, what I need to execute. So I needed that time. So now for this coming quarter, I'm going to, for the first time ever, like really, not ever, but in my own personal business, set goals for revenue and client enrollment and things like that. It's like for the first time, like tomorrow, I'm going to look at my income from my business from the first quarter for the first time ever.
Fantastic. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. It feels like a big deal. So I'm going to do that. And I want to make that a habit, just really shifting into it's a dance between employee and entrepreneurship. And so it's like you get complacent and comfortable with certain things in this side and it doesn't work over here. So it's like finding that sweet spot that's going to push me over. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Okay, good stuff. Tell me, is there anything for you from quarter number one where you look at it right now as we're talking and you say, man, I know for sure I could have done better with this?
Definitely consistent marketing of my offers.
Okay,
Definitely consistent marketing.
good.
And so that is definitely what I will be focused on. I find myself marketing the offer. Like, for example, I had my mentorship call with my community this morning. And so I find myself marketing it, kind of at the last minute.
Right,
Whereas I should be marketing it throughout the month so that people can feel the urgency to get into it.
sure.
So just small things like that. And now that I have my framework, I think I'll be able to speak more confidently, right? Because it was hard to show up when you weren't really sure what you were showing up to talk about. So now that I got this sense of clarity, I think I need to focus on the marketing side of things and
Okay,
really
great.
get
And what's one thing where you look at the first quarter and you say, okay, I feel really good about what I did here?
I would say nurturing the community that I already have.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a great job at that and making everyone feel included and excited and, like casting the vision for the community. I think I did a really good job at that because the group that has started in the community is a very solid group. And
Yeah.
that's been the feedback. So I would say that's what I've done well in quarter one.
So reaching out and putting your arms around them and then
Hmm.
lifting them up.
Yep.
Fantastic. All
Yep.
right. Thanks, Kim, for jumping in there. Much appreciative.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to jump in on your first quarter? Maybe you had a specific target and you hit it, or you smashed it out of the park. Maybe you started off with one intention and you ended up with a brand new one because you had no idea this was going to be where you'd end up. Anyone else before I continue? Going once.
I'm gonna jump in.
Yes. All right, Lady J.
Bless it. First of all, thank you, Kim, for hopping out there. Bless it. And being first. It takes guts to jump out. And it's crazy because the first thing I wrote down was calming my brain. So we were on one accord there. I have 90-day goals, and mine are JAM, JAM, Jamil, Arms, and Money Matters. So I do something every day to move me forward in each of those areas.
Mm.
So it's definitely has helped with my 90-day goals. Why is my heart beating so fast?
So you are very intentional about every day taking some sort of action in each of those lanes that are important to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you set that up for yourself?
Look, it's funny that you ask, bless it. So like, say for example, Jamil, I'm intentional about reading with him in the morning. Maybe something happens and we don't get to read. I take him to school. I want to hear about what was the best part of the day before. It's something that, like, he's 16 years old and, you blink and they're adults. So just things like, just as simple as that. I just make sure to plug into Jamil every single day. And I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago on the call, I was saying like, I was talking about having enriched relationships. You know how when you focus on one area, like focusing enriched relationships with my children, focusing on him, the spillover to the other kids is not like garbage, it's enriched as well. So I've been noticing that as well.
That's good. And are you changing anything for the second quarter, or is it just about going deeper of what you've already been doing?
It's like the foundation is laid, so it's just about going deeper and
Okay.
maybe adding something else in there, you know.
What do you feel really good about out of your first quarter?
My relationship with my kids, you know, just that's the most important thing to me right now. Bless it. And all of it ties in together. So Jamil, the first one, yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I mean, people think that parenting just comes. You know, it doesn't. We have to be as intentional as parents as we are with our jobs, our careers, our health and fitness. What's one area that you feel, okay, I may have dropped the ball a little bit, or I know I could do a lot better in this with this as I move forward?
We always know that area. That's the area you beat yourself in. So my second area is arms, blessed. I'm going for Angela Bassett. But but see, right now, blessed, I kind of dropped the ball on the arms area. But yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
second quarter, I'm gonna have a different regimen for arms.
All right, fantastic. So, because everything that we're talking about here, and thanks for jumping in there, Jamila, everything that we're talking about is centering around self-awareness and being even more intentional as we move in this second quarter. So think of it like in terms of a game. And most games are broken down into 4 quarters. So by the second quarter, you have gotten over any jitters you may have had, any performance issues. You have a sense of where you're measuring up against your goals as you set them, and if you're making progress or not. And now it's about really starting to create a rhythm. And when we look at the structure of our days, I want us to really focus on the power of language. I was thinking about this in terms of if you look at any campaign, any type of commercial, advertisement, products that are being promoted, there are these key components that all of them have. So for example, if I say just do it, everybody knows I'm talking about Nike. If I say da 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 da, you guys will be like, you'll finish the song. You know I'm talking about McDonald's. Because there's certain patterns and rhythms that create stickability. Now, why do companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars perpetually marketing words, images, and stories? Words, images, and stories to us, this base of consumers, because they understand the power of programming. They understand the power of words. I was looking at an interview with Spike Lee, and he was talking about Summer of Sam, and that particular is based on a true story. And the person that was going around killing people said in court that he heard voices in his head. He kept hearing these voices telling him to do these things. Well, those are words. That's messaging. That's a narrative. And it comes to fruition because he buys into it wholeheartedly. So we have examples of the power of these elements all around us, and we're bombarded with people's agendas, people's narratives. If you ever take a moment, I don't recommend it, but it's just good for self-awareness. If you ever take a moment and you just watch some of the so-called pundits and whatever message they're promoting on their said news/information channel, it is made up of a story and a point of view, and it is reinforced with a narrative and imagery so that they can have influence and persuasion to get people to perform and behave a certain way. I saw this on this channel, therefore I'm going to vote this way. I saw this on that channel, therefore I'm going to vote this way. And it's all about programming. So it is incumbent upon all of us to be very intentional with the programming that we are bombarding ourselves with and what we're allowing into our psychedelic space. So words, images, and story. How is it that we are talking to ourselves? So Jamila gave this example, and I had this image in my head when Angela Bassett was playing the Tina Turner role. And I'm saying to myself every morning, I'm as cut as Angela Bassett, and I'm as fit as Tina Turner when I wake up. And I make sure that I'm doing something for that specific area. So I wouldn't even leave the bedroom. Like as soon as my feet touch the floor off the bed, Jamila, I'm gonna get down and I'm gonna do slow count. You can do them on your knees if you need to. Slow count push-ups, where I go down nice and slow and I come up nice and slow. I go down nice and slow, I come up nice and slow, because what that does is it creates resistance and it creates tension in the biceps and in your arms. And that's where the cut begins to come from. If you've ever watched any of my own videos, you'll see as I'm doing push-ups, because of the form that I have, you'll see how the arms can get cut over time, right? So that's just a tweak, right? But that's the dialogue, the monologue I'm having with myself is that languaging. And the imagery that I have is I have a clear picture of Angela Bassett, and she's wearing this, it's like a tan jungle woman outfit when she's doing Proud Mary. And her arms are just, all out and exposed. And that image is so strong. So now I'm working toward a specific image. So the physical movements that I'm doing are in alignment with that particular outcome. And I'm not tuning into anything else. Now, if I get on to social media, YouTube, you know what I'm going to do? And Jamila, I don't know if you've already done this or not, specific workouts for cutting your arms. I just typed that into YouTube. Automatically, 700 videos are going to pop up with different types of things I can do in the gym and at home. That's just an example. Languaging and how we talk to ourselves. So if we, there's a creed that was given to me by one of my mentors, and she says it all the time. And I remember most of it is, I will hear the voice of the Holy Spirit within. I will lead and not follow. I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not beneath. I am blessed by God. I am chosen by God. I am loved by God. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. But it's an entire mantra that she reads and says and speaks every single day. And so I wrote it down when I first heard it. She sent it to me. She put it on a little, she laminated a card and sent it to me. And then I just kept saying it. So most of it is still in here. But there's something powerful about when we write the script of who it is that we want to become, and then we read from that script every single day until it becomes second nature, automatic. If Kim has specific targets, well, she's starting off her day literally reading and speaking life, because the word comes out, but it's in front of you. You understand? When she speaks that word, I am so, and we talked about Bob Proctor a few weeks ago. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm able to provide invaluable coaching and life-changing direction to 35 clients, brand new clients that have come into my organization or my group this month of April 2023. I'm so happy and grateful. If she's repeating that over and over and over again, she's starting her morning, and maybe she's going for a walk, or she's on the exercise bike or the elliptical or what have you, and that's the soundtrack that's going in her head. Ladies and gentlemen, her focus is so much more intentional. It's so much higher. She's not listening to the news. She's not listening to music. I'm not saying you can't get on your hype music if you're working out to it. I'm not talking about that. That's fine. But when she's just getting her day going, she has to carve out some time so it's not all music. There is some self-programming time in that. And the reason this is so important is because you got to remember there's a reason. Look at what they're doing in Russia. Why do you think Vladimir Putin can come on international news and say, hey, y'all, we doing a training exercise. We just doing an exercise. We're just looking at Ukraine. I know it looks like we're going to war. I know it looks like it with all these troops surrounding Ukraine and all the tanks and everything, but it's just an exercise, y'all. It's an exercise. I don't know what y'all talking about. And then the dude attacks, and he's like, he doesn't call it a war. He calls it, what do he call it? A liberation movement. So he's playing with words. Now, the only reason he's able to sell that to his people is because they spend so much time, energy, and effort doing what? Programming the country of Russia with words, images, and story. If you're in control of the narrative, you can get people to believe anything. And you can see there are clips of people that are in Russia, and they will tell you that Vladimir Zelensky is a freaking Nazi and that the people of Ukraine cannot wait to be liberated by Putin and the Russian army. They got people that actually believe that in their heart and their soul. I saw a mother and father living in Russia. The daughter lives in Ukraine. The daughter's like, listen, what they're telling you is all lies. Why do you think half the media outlets left the country? Because they were not going to be a part of that propaganda. And the mother and father are like, daughter, you don't know what you're talking about. Now, the daughter's literally being bombed while they're on the phone. And the parents are like, oh, that's Ukraine. They're doing that to make it look like it's us doing it. This is the power of words, images, and story. So if you harness that power and put it into your space, into your spirit, your outcome, the things that you're committed to doing, your days are going to have so much more energy and intention because you're not focusing on anything else. You're not allowing the space to come into and distract you off course. All of you all understand that when you get on your phone and you're on social media, if you scroll just for a little bit, I guarantee you most of what you're looking at has absolutely nothing to do with what you're focusing on, with what you want to produce and create in your own life, with the results that you want to produce and create. So we can agree that there's not much there. You have to use it, but don't let it use you. You can use your social media, use your phone, but don't let them use you. So I am imploring each of you to look at the story that you're living from and give yourself permission to beef it up. You know, put some more stuff in there. Put some more self-affirmation in there. Write some things about your strength and your ability to focus and your ability to have unlimited amounts of energy. And you are the toughest mofo on planet Earth. There's nothing that man can throw at you. Man didn't make you, so man can't break you. So how you're talking to yourself in all of these quiet moments are going to show up when you most need it. Because if you're working, if you have children and responsibilities and obligations, you have to muster up enough energy, focus, and attention to make sure that you're doing the things that you want to do as well. And that takes a certain level of mindset and programming in terms of how we talk to ourselves. So I am absolutely fascinated by how people use a story, a word, and an image, a narrative, and they'll use it to reap destruction. They'll use it. You know, they talk about a decision. Your life can change in an instant. You can make a decision. Life changes forever. Guess what? Somebody makes a decision. It's an emotional decision. Somebody gets hurt because somebody gets emotional and they punch somebody. They get in a fist fight. They punch somebody. Somebody hits their head. Now they're in the hospital in a coma. And they're like, oh man, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean that. I just lost it. Well, you made a decision based on a narrative that if somebody comes at you a certain way, you need to back them up. And the only way you know how to respond is with violence, right? One of the things we learned in martial arts over and over again, even though we spend 90% of our time fighting, my sensei would always say, we're training you so that you don't have to fight. We're training you so that you know how to head that off before it even gets there. Even though you could do damage to most encounters because they're not going to have your training, the reason we train you so you won't have to. Well, see, if that's a narrative and a story that I incorporated into the fabric of my being, there's a reason why there are certain situations where I could have fought, but I didn't, because I understood, I had a different narrative. This is how powerful words and images and story are. So I want you all to look at the story that you are currently cultivating. As you look at the first quarter and you look at some of those gaps, attack the gaps. Those areas where you dropped the ball, those areas where you fell short, those are the areas that you must attack right now. Moving forward from today on, that means you're going to do some push-ups tonight. That means you're going to come up with an offer. You're going to send it to somebody in a DM tonight. That means you're going to do something that's attacking whatever that gap was so that you can remind yourself and your person, wait a minute, I'm brand new right now. I got a brand new 90 days. Now, I'm biased. Jamila talked about 90 days. I'm biased with 90 days because 90 days has always been a significant marker in my life. The first time I experienced 90 days, it was a rites of passage. I was 20 years young, and over 90 days, we could not speak to anyone. We could not eat anything other than vegan. We were dragged and worked out to death. It was worse than a boot camp, but it was 90 days of intensive indoctrination, training, and development so that we could be better leaders. But that was transformational. I had no idea that any one human being could get that much done on an intellectual level, on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a relationship and building. I had no idea that that was even humanly possible until I went through that 90-day indoctrination. From that time forward, that 90 days was emblazoned in my brain because I understood at a very base level that anyone can completely turn things around in 90 days. Your life could be totally different in 90 days. Jamila and myself, we're looking at it from a different angle because we did it in business too. We understand it from a business standpoint. That's really big. If you're in sales and leadership, we take 90-day blocks and we go for runs and we do certain things at a very high intense level. So as we're at the beginning of this, April, May, June, imagine what it is that you would like. Who's the person you would like to meet at the end of June? Who's the person you want to see on the other side of these 90 days? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to push through over these next 90 days so that the person that you meet at the end, you will be excited, you will be proud of, and you will be fired up for the next 90 days? These are the questions that I want you to ask and answer as you're tweaking the story, as you're tweaking that script. This is your bio that you're working on, that you're going to be reading to yourself and getting fired up on because you know you're at a different level. Right now, you're at a completely different level. When you walk into the room tomorrow morning, wherever you all are going, people are going to look at you and be like, man, that's somebody I need to pay attention to. I don't know what you do, but there's something about your energy. There's something about the way that you come off. There's something about how you enter a space that I just felt compelled to talk to you. So all of this is at your fingertips. And this is why I'm most excited, because each of you are going to have an incredible testimony, an incredible story as we share at the end of these 3 months, at the end of these 90 days. There's a lot going on in the world. And most people do what? They focus on things they can't control. Most people do what? They focus on what? The past. Most people put their energies in places and on things and has nothing to do with what they really want. And don't go after what you think you can get, by the way. Go after what you really want. Don't go after what you think you can get. Go after what you really want. Don't hedge on this. Don't dilly-dally around. Be honest. If you want to ball out, if you want to hit a certain level, if you want to look a certain way, if you want to be a certain kind of fitness, certain kind of income, own it. Own it. It's your character in the script. You can make the character as dope as you want that character to be. So do not hold back on that. And just see what happens if you decide to go all out. See what happens if you decide, every day I'm going to go all out. And then you got to rest and recover. Go all out, rest and recover. You work in a 12-hour day, make sure you have some recovery time in that 12-hour day. 168 hours in a week, you can put a lot in a week. 168 hours. And when you rest, be intentional. If it's not as long, it's okay. It's only 90 days, but make sure you're intentional when you rest. If you have to nap, take naps. But if you're really going to go for it, go for it. All right. Have an awesome and amazing week. Look forward to hearing about the progress as we're moving along. We'll see you guys same time, same station. Let's keep making it do what it do.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Awesome. Thank you, Evie.
Thank you, Ed Blunt.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.